We're in the offices of the publisher of Look magazine, Mr. Vernon Myers.
This spring, Dr. Werner von Braun, director of NASA's Marshall Space Center, said, "Early next year, we'll flight test the huge three-stage Saturn V rocket, which will transport 3 Apollo astronauts to the moon. The Saturn V launch vehicle will place a payload of more than 250,000 pounds into Earth orbit. Now that's the equivalent weight of 25 of the largest mobile homes permitted on our highways. 25 of those huge house trailers measuring 10 feet in width and 60 feet in length. The Apollo Saturn is being developed initially for the manned lunar program. It represents the culmination of the growth in technology that will enable men to leave the planet Earth, travel through space some 238,000 miles, land on another heavenly body, and then return safely home. The techniques developed to accomplish this feat may be used for traveling through space over long periods of time to explore other planets." Now, this amazing progress in space finds the American people less than well prepared to comprehend its social impact. Scientists maintain a dialogue with scientists, quite properly to be sure. But there remains a much-needed job of indoctrinating our public with the consequences of cosmic communication and the inevitable changes in our life, in our culture, our philosophies, our economy, our markets. Radical revisions in our total society. Now, one means of preparing ourselves for the future is to educate by entertaining. The following film describes an unusual motion picture now being produced in London for release all over the world starting early in 1967.
It is the year 2001. You are on your way to a space station on routine business. You have been traveling less than an hour and have remembered to call your office. Now you transmit your thoughts across space electronically. You receive your answer transmitted directly to the built-in television screen in your case. This is but one example of what life will be like in the year 2001. And this is Bournemouth, England today. Here in this London suburb, space scientists, industrial designers, and conceptual artists from all over the world are gathering at the MGM studios. They have been brought together to contribute their knowledge, their ideas, their visions, to advise and consult in the filming of Stanley Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey. Two of these men, space scientists Fred Ordway and Harry Lange, formerly of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and both active in space vehicle construction, are Stanley Kubrick's principal astronautic advisors.
We've been brought in here by Stanley Kubrick to more or less ensure the scientific integrity of the film, to make sure that it's very, very close in reality to what we're doing today in the spaceflight program. And naturally, we're looking forward 35 years. But still, we want to make certain that it has a base of reality.
We've heard you've been getting assistance from industries throughout America.
Well, we most certainly have. We've been working with many, many companies, about 50 really. IBM, General Electric in Philadelphia, RCA in Michigan, Bosch and Lomb in Rochester, New York, and so on down the list. Wherever we need help, we've gone to industry, and they've been more than delighted to give it to us.
How do Dr. von Braun and Arthur C. Clarke relate to 2001?
Well, it's sort of a friendship relationship, really. I formerly worked for Dr. von Braun at the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Arthur Clarke is a very, very close friend of mine.
Harry Lange, didn't you design a memory space helmet?
Oh, yes. This is the helmet I've designed that will be worn in the film by the 6 astronauts that will go onto the moon base.
What's the blue patch on the back?
Oh, back here? These are memory packages, which can be inserted at will by from the main station, which will supply the astronauts with additional information.
You might sort of tie in here, Harry, that these memory packs around the rear of the helmet are activated by an ARM unit, which has been developed for us with the assistance of IBM. And if certain types of information are required by the astronaut, he will simply press the appropriate button, and these will connect up with a typical computer console in the main ship. We're looking 35 years in the future.
Looking back, this flight seems only yesterday. Lindbergh took 33½ hours to conquer time and space between New York and Paris in 1927. His flight was the unforgettable milestone between the Wright brothers and the great jetliners of today. So our present space vehicles with their awesome rockets are the forerunners of those of the year 2001, 35 years in the future. Approaching is a spaceship of the year 2001. Its aerodynamic design will allow it to pass through the Earth's atmosphere and into space. Its objective is to reach an orbiting space station some 200 miles above the Earth's atmosphere. Once on the moon, pod-shaped vehicles of very light construction will be used for transportation. Roy Carnan has visualized for Stanley Kubrick many of the unusual and striking sets for 2001. He has given form to scientific concepts of life on the moon in greater detail than any living artist. This complex is the shuttle base with a communication network in the background. This is the lunar shuttle with its access ramps and an observatory with its communication center. This is a segment of the moon's surface transport. Great technical detail has gone into the production of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Working from today's knowledge of the space age, the designers take us 35 years into the future. Scores of engineers and craftsmen work designing the sets and props, which combine existing knowledge with the projections of Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick. From the drawing board, the designs are brought to life in the construction shops, from the smallest props to space vehicles. Finally, they are placed in the gaping storehouses of the MGM Property Department, where these strange new shapes will wait until called to play their parts. The story of 2001: A Space Odyssey begins on the moon. then goes on to show the opening days of the exploration of our solar system. It explores man's place in the universe and his position in the order of cosmic intelligence. The art director of 2001: A Space Odyssey is Tony Masters. For nearly 2 years, he has labored to bring the ideas and designs of artists and engineers into being. Here, he works on a model of the centrifuge, a vital section of the spacecraft in which important sequences of the film will be played. The centrifuge posed an unprecedented design and engineering challenge. And the challenge was met by Vickers Armstrong, one of Britain's largest aircraft manufacturers, who constructed this strange, intriguing centrifuge. Here is the completed centrifuge in motion. It is a 38-ton colossus. And its great complexity demands a drastically new approach to directing, lighting, and photography. To accomplish the effect of weightlessness, cameras are placed in radically unorthodox mounts. Optical engineers had to design equipment which would meet the requirements of Kubrick's bizarre and incisive imagination. "3,000 miles to the west of the Grumman Aircraft Engineering Corporation on Long Island, New York, work continues around the clock. Here, the Lunar Excursion Module, known as LEM, is under construction. It will take 2 American astronauts onto the surface of the moon. Arthur Clarke, co-author of 2001: A Space Odyssey, was invited to observe the LEM's progress and comment on the events leading to placing a man on the moon.
We're in the final assembly building of the LEM, the Lunar Excursion Module, which will take 2 American astronauts down to the surface of the moon. And in 2001, Stanley Kubrick and I have set ourselves several objectives. We hope to convey to the public the wonder and beauty and promise of the new age of exploration which is opening up before the human race. We want to convey the message that our Earth is perhaps not the only abode of life. Our sun, the sun that shines on this planet, is one of 100 billion circling in the Milky Way. How many of those shine upon our equals or our masters out there in the depths of space? That's the question that 2001 asks and seeks to answer.
A full-size model of the Lunar Excursion Module is the setting for a visit and conversation between Arthur Clarke and Tom Buck of Look magazine.
Arthur, here we are on the LEM ship, and one can almost imagine we're on our way to the moon, or we've arrived at the moon, as a matter of fact.
Yes, it's hard to realize that in a few years, some American astronaut will be looking through this window out onto the lunar surface. And what we are doing in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey is showing some of the things that will develop in the world of the future as a result of our present first steps into space.
Arthur, in one of your earlier books, you indicated that people are space conscious, but not space minded. What is the distinction?
So, you know, the exploration of the universe is much more than a contest between 2 mid-20th century powers. It's really the next stage in the evolution of mankind. I'm sure that the men who built the first boats out of reeds and logs never imagined the ocean-going commerce of today, or the great nations beyond the sea. And similarly, the men who started the conquest of the air only a lifetime ago couldn't have conceived of the great jets that are now roaring through the skies. Well, what we're starting now with our drive into space is the next step in evolution. Out on the moon and planets are the new frontiers which our age needs so desperately. The next generation will explore the planets, bringing back new knowledge, answering old questions, and of course asking fresh ones. And after the explorers will come, as they always do, the colonists, reshaping our neighboring worlds with the tools of future science. About half a century ago, the great Russian space pioneer Tsiolkovsky said, "Earth is the cradle of mankind, but you cannot live in the cradle forever." And that is very true, and out here among the stars lies the destiny of mankind.
Back at MGM in Bournemouth, England, production on 2001 continues. International interest makes the publicity department a center where reports on the progress of 2001: A Space Odyssey are circulated throughout the world. The inherent news value of 2001: A Space Odyssey has attracted reporters, photographers, and newsmen from all over the world. They come to talk, to record, and to interview. Here, Keir Dullea talks to reporters about his role in the film.
The picture is being done in such a gigantic scope, both in terms of its subject, in terms of the sets being built. I understand that it has one of the largest art department collections in the history of motion pictures. The centrifuge is so realistic and so unusual. After a while, you begin to forget that you're an actor, and you begin to really feel like an astronaut. And in terms of working with Stanley Kubrick, who is surely one of the giants of our industry as far as direction is concerned, and I think even more importantly to me personally, the opportunity I have to play such a gigantic figure in our history, in our present history, because I think that an astronaut truly is one of the heroes of our times, just as Daniel Boone was in the early American history, and as Ulysses was in ancient history. Ulysses, by the way, would be the greatest analogy I can think of to this character, because I play the part of Captain Dave Bowman, who's the commander of this ship.
Nearby, another of the film stars, Gary Lockwood, goes through the long daily routine of being dressed in his astronaut spacesuit. On the main stage, the vast wheel of the future turns for another day of filming in the year-long schedule of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Stanley Kubrick has combined fact and fiction unforgettably in such films as Dr. Strangelove and Lolita. In the same sense, 2001: A Space Odyssey is a marriage of the knowledge of today and the insights of tomorrow. Inside the giant centrifuge, the technology of spaceflight is seen at close range. One of the scientific concepts being shown in the film is hibernation, a form of suspended animation for long-range spaceflight. Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke believe everything in their film will be possible in the next century. By remote control, Stanley Kubrick directs his actors in complex, deep space sequences. He uses concealed television cameras to monitor their performances. The coming century will reveal a new and startling universe, more complex, more diverse, richer than even today's physicists and astronomers envision. The things which seem almost lost to our present world, strangeness, wonder, mystery, adventure, come again. in space. This is the promise of 2001, A Space Odyssey.
To make Americans aware of our space progress, the motion picture medium and the national magazine medium can complement each other's most effective educational techniques. The motion picture, long known for its ability to educate while entertaining, should be used in combination with the magazine and its greater facility for serious discussion in depth. Look proposes a special advertising section to be published in its first 1967 issue, devoted to the social impact of celestial exploration. This will be timed to ride the crest of MGM's multi-million-dollar promotion program. The Look section and its advertisers will be direct beneficiaries. This will afford you as an advertiser a unique publishing vehicle for projecting your corporate future plans. Your message will appear against an educational backdrop, revealing how all segments of American industry are anticipating the opportunities and the need of tomorrow's world, offering the public the information needed to make an affirmative judgment on the great national investment required to continue this progress. But the cost has to be related to the promise. Dr. von Braun has stated, there are more than 400,000 men and women, 20,000 industrial companies, and more than 150 universities in the NASA program alone. More than 95% of NASA's budget goes to contractors. Thomas Jefferson was hard put to defend the wisdom of his Louisiana purchase. This real estate deal cost us $15 million, 15% of the gross national product of 1803. NASA's space budget today is only 1% of our gross national product. We recommend your participation in Look's unusual advertising section on very pragmatic grounds. Your views on your company's role in the world of the future are of more than casual interest to your stockholders, your employees, your suppliers, your customers, and all of the various publics to whom you direct your advertising and with whom you seek to maintain good relations. We are hopeful that this section will bring together the keenest, most perceptive, and most significant thinking being done anywhere about this world of tomorrow.